Welcome to the Money Mentors Podcast.
Continuing our special series on taxes this time of year here on the show with one of our favorite retirement tax experts, Ed Slott, this week. And we know this new administration is taking steps in Washington to curb government spending right now, getting really serious about this issue. But Ed Slott says the bill will eventually come due for all the spending that we've already done over the years. So he tells Morningstar, Laurel, and Corey that you have to have a plan for the money in those tax-deferred retirement accounts that we have, typically 401ks, IRAs, that sort of thing. Otherwise, he says, you're stuck with what we call the government plan.
What is the government plan? Maybe I'm interested. No, you're not interested in that plan. That's forced RMDs starting at age 73. Now you're not in control. By converting, you can control your tax rates. You can do a series of smaller Roth conversions over each year, over time, bringing down this taxable IRA. Remember, a lot of your IRA is a debt owed back to the government. Your IRA is an IOU to the IRS.
Laurel, I think you probably have that quote posted on your office wall.
I love it. I love it so much. I was just kind of sitting here with Corey mocking, like, okay, I totally know what he's saying.
She mouthed along with it.
I did.
It's true, and it's so simple. It's easy to remember, and yet I think so few people grasp it, right? Because, again, we just do our thing. We save in what we've been told to save in. That's those IRAs, our 401ks. We've done our thing all these years, but that tax bill does come due.
Absolutely. And I had the privilege of hearing Ed Slott say this at a conference, and man, it absolutely resonated. And that's one of those things. I mean, everything he says there, I was like, hey, he could be on our payroll, right? Because this is what we talk about time and time again, absolutely something we believe in. And, Roth IRAs might not be right for everybody. So it's not a blanket statement to say you absolutely should have one. However, you should definitely consider being diversified by the different types, right? The qualifications of money that you have, not just by what you're invested in. So you might have taxable, tax deferred, and tax free. And that's where you can actually control what your taxes will be in the future. And that's huge, especially because we all know the debt keeps increasing. We are in a final year of Trump's tax plan from his prior time being in office. Still unsure if that's going to get extended or not. So really, you're in a time frame of 2025 is this final year to make adjustments before, at the end of the year, they go back up to higher tax rates.
And even if they do end up keeping taxes lower, if you look at a chart of the highest tax bracket, starting back to 1913 to now, we are almost dead center of where we have been over time. So chances are we are going to have higher taxes at some point. So it only makes sense to take advantage of the current tax brackets that we're in today to do those things like Roth conversions, moving money around between those different tax buckets, potentially paying less taxes now so that when you do need those funds in the future, you're getting them tax-free and you're not paying the higher taxes at that time.
And this is an annual thing, right? You don't have a conversation come in with Corey or myself or Taylor or anybody here, and we say, yep, here's your tax plan. Boom, done, we did it. It's like, nope, we're talking about it every single year because life changes, government changes on how they do things. And so I think that's the biggest thing I would love for you to take away from today's show is you might have a tax preparer or a CPA, and they could probably be focused on the fact of making sure your returns are happening and they're filing all of it. But they're not looking at the long-term impact. And that's the part that you need to make sure you definitely have as a part of your plan. So our fiduciary advisors here, we work with your CPA on that. We're going to look at some different things, go back to them, make sure you don't have any surprises come tax time of next year. But if your advisor is not talking to you about the impact of taxes when it comes to retirement, you're missing a huge piece. And also could be definitely overpaying, to the government instead of that staying with your family, your legacy, or having that go on to charities.
Yeah. And like Laurel said, with it not being just a one-time plan, I actually had a client that I met with whose tax preparer said, hey, you could save some money by contributing to an IRA this year. And in her situation, we believe that she is in a lower tax bracket now than she is going to be when she's in retirement. So it actually made more sense after we talked through it to contribute to a Roth now to pay those lower taxes, let those taxes be paid because they're lower. And then again, later they're going to be higher, but you're not going to be paying those taxes because you're in the Roth. So we love to team up with your tax preparer because there's a lot of different point of views that go into it to make sure that that plan is not just looking at this year, but your long-term goals.
Real life lessons about your retirement. You're listening to the Money Mentors Podcast.
Now, here's another reason it's really important to work with a financial advisor focused on taxes. Kiplinger points out that a one-time spike in your income in 1 year could actually trigger what's called the IRMA with Medicare premiums. Now, IRMA in this case is a what, not a who. I mean, IRMA sounds like your great aunt or something. But can you explain here, what is IRMA?
Yes, IRMA is through Medicare, and it is the income-related monthly adjustment amount. How that works is when Medicare is determining your Part B premiums, they're actually looking back 2 years at what your income was to determine what those premiums were. So a lot of clients work right up till 65 when they're going on Medicare so that they don't have to deal with marketplace insurance. And what they may not be thinking about is that you tend to earn more the longer you work. So you tend to be in your highest earning years in those last couple of years before retirement, and that can drastically affect those first few years of Medicare Part B premiums.
Well, and think about it too. We had this case here recently where business owners, right? We work with a lot of business owners, and they had a buyout that was going over, I think, a 5-year time frame. But for him, a giant portion of that was paid out 2 years prior. That's what we're planning on right now, right? 2 years prior to his Medicare premium. So we're working with our Medicare Matt, right? That's why we have this Health Solutions piece here to talk about IRMA and what this means for you, and talk about it with our advisors, because what can we do to plan for and prepare instead of just saying, oops, sorry, that, it is what it is.
Yeah. And all these things are just individual puzzle pieces to your overall retirement puzzles. So when we're looking at this, then it goes back to those Roth conversions we talked about. So we're not just going to blindly do them, because if we do a big Roth conversion 2 years before you go on Medicare, you're then going to be paying higher Medicare premiums because we cause you to have more income. So you have to be thinking about all these different pieces and how they all relate to each other and how it all factors into that overall plan.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Fee-based financial planning and investment services are offered by Matson Financial Services, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Lakeview Financial Group, LLC, Matson Financial Services, LLC, and Lakeview Financial Group are affiliated. To find out if Matson Financial Services is licensed in your state, please call 800-536-8907.